took a big break from Magic too. It was one of those things. I think it was Zendikar. I remember pulling a chase. It was like one of my first chase, like Jace. It was one of my first chase cards. Ended up being like a $300-400 card because it was a foil.
Yeah.
And dude, it cost like hundreds of dollars to make a competitive standard deck. And I remember when I got into it, it was like right in between a block rotation, and I didn't know shit about block rotation. Like, what's that? All of a sudden, like all these hundreds of dollars I put into a deck is now like irrelevant, and it's like, oh great, I gotta spend a couple hundred more to like.
Oh yeah, it's all over. You just might as well throw all those out. Those are trash now.
Yeah, dude. So now I started dabbling back into it, like going to pre-releases. But if anything, I started getting like the foil lands. I'm a big fan of like the, you know what I mean, like the different
those are cool.
You know, like the cool lands and stuff, the Edge of Eternity and stuff. Man, Commander's a whole different beast though.
The guys that I'm really getting down with these days are the people who play Flesh and Blood. I don't know if you've ever heard of that game. But it is Flesh and Blood players will crucify me for this, but it's kind of like Commander. It's honestly almost like a fighting game, the way that it kind of the strategy works for it, and you have like a hero, and they are your life pool, and you use the rest of your cards to like launch attacks either against your opponent's tokens or against their life pool directly, and but the back and forth is very much like Street Fighter or something like that, almost in the way that you need to strategize. I was on hand for a tournament they had, because we did a bunch of tokens and altars and stuff for that game, for the battle standard, and I got to like observe a tournament, and it's one of those things where I had no clue what the hell was going on, and some very nice people tried to explain it to me, but again, I have one of those moments where it's like I'm very happy to sit in the corner and draw the cool little action figure dudes. And then print them and put them on cards. And it's the kind of thing, somebody handed me a deck once, I'll sit down and get my ass kicked, whatever. Yeah. But it is definitely the kind of thing that Commander's the same way, I'm sure. It's like you have to you got to put the work in to play the game and do well. Otherwise, you really, you could be like me and go down and hang out with your buds and get beat up and who cares. But there's another thing where it's just like even if you don't care, it's still get tired of losing all day. After a while,
you want to win one, right? Like you want to win one, and that's the idea of Commander. I mean, I've read into it. I got 2 Commander decks because my fiance said she wanted to learn how to play, so I got a Commander deck, and then all of a sudden now she doesn't have time. All right, thanks, cool. I got a second one, and I made sure to pick a cool one. So you're lost. It's cool though. Like standard, you'd have like a playset of 4. Commander, you only have 1 of each card, so it's like a whole different aspect to it. Where in standard you can kind of like count cards, right? Like you can be like, well, the probability of me drawing this in this hand is X, as long as you know your deck and you know your build. Commander's a little bit more tricky, and you got like double the life. There's a thing called you actually have a commander that goes to a commander zone. Like what the hell is that all about? We have our good friend Luis joining us over on Twitch. Hello, Cody and Brendan. Good morning. Welcome to the stream. Speaking of Magic, we're here to talk about comics. Let's
Yeah, we are. So let's just talk about Magic the Gathering for half an hour and
yeah, dude. Shit, Man, hey, I'll say it was the Final Fantasy set that got me back into it. I seen they were doing like Final Fantasy 6 and 9, and I'm like 7. I'm like, yeah, dude, I gotta pick up a couple of these boosters.
That was a very, very popular set, and it was really very funny to see the speculators come in and try to snatch up the market on Final Fantasy, and then they tried to do it again for Spider-Man, and everybody hated Spider-Man. So it's like you got all these scalpers who bought hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of cards, and they can't give them away. So hey, a little karmic justice there.
Yeah, that's what you get. That is what you get. We need some of that on the Pokemon side. I mean, like, damn, dude. And I will say, this is probably the best lighting I've had during a day stream. Usually my lighting exposure is like murdered by this window right here and this doorway right there. Yeah. But shout out to all my kids for me stealing their blankets while they're at school and putting them over the windows. We got an assortment of towels I'm sure my wife will be happy to see draped across the windows as well. So it gets the job done though, right?
Yeah.
So I am good to go. I'm good to dive in. Real quick, do you have any preview pages of Maru Kiru?
Yes, I do. So you can go and see them on my website. If you go to BrendanAlbetski.com and you go to the Maru Kiru Comics tab, there are 12 preview pages, I think, if you scroll down.
Okay.
And then if you actually go to the store listing in my coffee shop, there are the same 12 preview pages are in there as well. So it's just the first chapter.
Do you? Is there any way you might be able to add that to screen?
Yeah, maybe.
And then when we dive into it, I can like pull it up. Here, I can try to nail it in too if you can't though. The time change. Luis, it's funny. I got off work. I usually work till about 2 in the morning. We got school drops off at 7. The time change did not do me well. I was looking to get a little bit of editing in. I remember I got off work. I'm like in the garage working on something. Then I look at my phone and it says it's like 3 in the morning. I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, Bailey's about to be so pissed that I have been out here for like 2 hours. And then here, I actually, here, I have the website pulled up real quick. So let me get that added.
Yeah, I just dropped the link in the chat, but whatevs.
And then we will pull that up to check out while we talk about it. I think that'll be really cool.
Woo!
All right, so I am good to go as long as you are good to go, my friend.
Rock and roll.
All right, let's begin in 3, 2, 1. Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic episode of Keeping It Geekly. It's your Cape Crusader, Cody, and we're hanging out with our returning guest, Brendan Albetski.
Hello.
And it's time to destroy the moon once again. We're here to talk about some Maru Kiru, Destroy the Moon, First Heresy, and everything in between. Brendan, how have you been? Welcome to the show. It's been a few moons since you've been on.
Yeah, it has. It's been a while. You're in a completely different location. We've been talking a little bit before the show, and it's just like, wow, life has really gone on in the last year. And I think it's been probably a little bit more than a year since I've been on the show. So yeah, it's good to be back. And I'm really happy to be here. And I think probably the first time I ever talked about Maru Kiru on a podcast was on your show. And so I'll be kind of bringing it back full circle, talk about the remaster here. This first podcast I've had to talk about the remaster. So
dude,
it's pretty excellent to be back in the hot seat.
Yeah, we are going full circle once again. And I mean, I had a chance to read it. You guys are going to have a chance to see it in a little bit. Yeah. This is gorgeous. I mean, and this seems like it was probably a huge undertaking to accomplish.
It was large. Yeah, it was large. Maybe even some would have said ill-advised when I started it. And I did the first chapter kind of on a lark because it's something I've been thinking about for years, actually. And I've resisted doing it because I don't want to George Lucas anything, you know. And I brought it up to my my proofreader and longtime friend, my anonymous proofreader who has been with me from every comic I've ever read and never wants credit for anything. But I had this conversation with him when I started. I did the first chapter and I showed it off and I said, I'm thinking of doing this for the whole series. And he said, that's going to be a lot of work. I said, yeah. And he said, you know, you're not going to be able to work on other stuff while you're doing that. I said, no, I know, but I'm pretty sure it needs to happen. And I launched into it and I got hooked and I fell down a real deep rabbit hole. And I spent, I think, 3 weeks doing like 12, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week doing this remaster.
Wow.
It was one of those things where it was like I would blink and the day would be over and I would have, you know, another 10, 12 pages done. And I just kept rolling through it. And it was so much of it was such an eye-opening experience for me doing this, because what I was finding, the reason I wanted to do it in the first place is because I have my new comic, Maru Kiru, Destroy the Moon, The Chosen Ones, which I will show people at conventions. And it's you know, it's technically it's issue 4, but it's issue 1 of the second story arc. So I was doing this thing where I was starting to say to people, hey, you know, you want to start from the beginning, you start with First Heresy, but if you want to start from, you know, like where the art starts to look really good, you jump on here. And I'm like, that is like the biggest way to kneecap yourself in a con setting that I could possibly think of. Why the hell am I doing this? Why am I putting myself in a position where I'm talking about my own work like this? Because I really love the early comics. But it was just that point where it had been so long and I learned so much that everything looked so different. And it's like I was desperate to make it, to get it to a point where I was really proud to say to people, like, start at the very beginning, and read from there because you don't want to miss anything. And so I thought it was going to be a lot more work than it actually even was, because the one thing I said I was not going to do is I was not going to redraw it. It was a remaster, not a redraw.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing was I wanted to redo all the lettering because I didn't know dick about lettering when I started doing Maru Kiru. And I have taken a lot of beatings over the years from people trying to gently nudge me in the direction of becoming a better letterer. I would like to give a lot of credit to Marcus Jimenez from Dauntless.
Mm-hmm.
While I was working on Kaiju Fist, just his very gentle, maybe we could tighten up that lettering a little bit. After 4 or 5 times of hearing that, I said, okay, it's time to sit down and actually, learn the rules.
Sometimes that's what you need, though, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes, like it's on your to-do list, and it's like you always strive to be better, but it takes that one individual to be like, hey, and you're like, I'm gonna do that right now.
I'm gonna do it. Yeah. So I did it for Kaiju Fist, and I was like, now I got to do it for everything. Oh no. This is 192 pages of lettering that I can no longer look at without gagging. And so it's like I got to go back and I got to redo all of it. So that was where it started. And then as I was going through it, I was like, a lot of these colors were from when it was a webcomic only, and I was never going to print it. I could do that better. I could do this better. This wouldn't be too hard to do this.
What goes into that, though? Because I know there is a pretty, rather significant difference between digital and printing. So, like, how much of a change is that coloring?
I mean, I completely recolored the whole thing for the most part, 95% of it, and it was really a simplification in a lot of cases. Everything on the screen is so much more vibrant and poppy. And I've managed to always translate that to the page pretty well. But going back through this, it was really coloring with the intent to be printed. So I was paying a lot more attention to how things would look printed than I was when I first started doing the comic. But the most important thing that I discovered when I was doing that, because the first thing I did is I would strip it down to line art. And then it was like, okay, where do I go from here? And what I discovered was like the fundamentals and the comic craft that I had even back then was better than I gave myself credit for it. I didn't have the confidence in it at the time that I do now. And so when I stripped, I liken it to having a really good cake that for whatever reason you're just not confident in how it looks, so you just keep adding layers and layers and layers and layers of frosting. And you end up with this kind of frosting monstrosity that people will go, wow, I've never seen anything like that before.
It's a lot of frosting.
A lot of frosting. That's certainly a choice. And to go back and to scrape all of that off and to go, you know what, there's a pretty damn good looking cake under here. That was a lot of what the experience was. And, and it was, heightening the drama of certain moments. This first page was kind of especially one. I have felt for a while that like the first page of the comic has felt a little flat to me. And I was like, well, I really would like to go back and punch that up. And so especially, with the lettering and dialing way up on the moon and the atmosphere of that, going back through the chapters and focusing heavily on using color as a sense of place and tone, as opposed to just doing whatever, which is kind of, I colored by vibes the first time through it. It was much more intentional second time through. And so you have each location kind of has its own feel and its own color palette. And we go through the story. You take yourself through the story just with the colors based on that. So, in the first chapter, you see kind of the nighttime Auricor palette, which is, they're in the Crimson Waste, so there is still kind of that red undertone to it, but it's also middle of the night, so everything's dark. And then you get the green moon with the kind of greenish yellow light and everything. So that's really the vibe that we pull for this one. And then the next one, it's daytime. You're on the ground in the desert in the daytime, so we still got the red, but the sky is much lighter. And pick up the comic and read it. It's
yeah, and I love the gradient. Yeah. So, I mean, dude, this had to have felt like the best comparison I can think of is like when you're playing Diablo and you like get to the paladin levels and then you go through that first level and you're just like spamming your basic attack, just like murdering everything around you. Was it like that going through this, recoloring everything, knowing what you know now versus what you knew then?
Oh, it was a lot easier. Yeah, it was a lot easier and a lot faster. The thing I've learned about coloring over the years, and it's really kind of bizarre because I remember talking about this with you on a show before, is when I started doing coloring in the first place, I had this rule of like, I'm only going to use 3 colors. And that was how I was able to wrap my head around like getting through coloring and everything.
What's that 3-color rule force you to do?
I mean, you get creative on how you get creative on how you flat the comic, on how you want to present the images, on focusing on what's important. There's this rule that has been talked about a lot online recently that I've seen. I guess it's in design classes too. Probably. I'm self-taught, so I don't know any of this shit. It's called 60-30-10, which is you have three colors, and we have one color that's 60% of the palette, and then you have another color that's 30% of the palette, and you have like a highlight color that's 10%.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes it easy to like focus in on what you want to focus on the image. But going through and coloring again, I found I was going back and saying, I really want to go back to basics and do this thing where it's like, yeah, I'm picking three colors and you're using them in as creative a way as possible to communicate the way you want the page to be communicated. So I've always colored for value first with my grayscale, and then gone back and kind of done the colors, overlaid the colors on that. So I'm still doing that. And it's just like, I felt like I had a much better understanding of everything that was going on. It was like revisiting, extremely familiar ground, because I know the page is like the back of my hand, but it's like really just getting into the comic like I was doing it for the first time almost. And like I said, just kind of achieving a flow state and not really knowing what was happening. But at the end of the day, I had this big stack of pages that was like, yeah, these look great. I can't wait to put this out. This was originally going to be something that I was going to work on in the background throughout the year, and then think about putting a TPB out in 2027. And I reached a point where I was like 50% of the way through it, and I said, screw it, we're doing the whole thing right now. And we're going to get a TPB out. And it was the kind of thing where I was just like, we're going to get this all done by the end of February. And then we're going to do a campaign in March for the TPB. And then we're going to, roll that out. But then, the Inheritance campaign was coming up, and I have the Royal campaign coming after that. And then I've got Circuit Champ coming after that. And then I've got other stuff coming after that. Hush, hush. But, it essentially was like, I'm going to have to wait so long to run a campaign for this thing. I want it now.
Yeah.
And when you're in charge, when you're the sole proprietor of the comic, you can do whatever you want. So yeah, I scrounged up the money. I got a micro print run of books, and I said, hey, this is on sale right now. You can buy it. And here they are in my hot little hands.
And you can still do a Kickstarter at any point.
I could. Yeah, I could.
Yeah.
I think I'm much more likely to do one for the next Chosen Ones issue. And we'll also be able to do a catch up here where you get the book at the same time. But it's like I said, I've got so many crowdfunding campaigns this year that I have to put my attention to, that I hate competing with myself. So it becomes difficult to schedule everything and give everything the attention that it deserves. But this one's my baby. This is the one that is like, I'm the only voice who's speaking for this. So it's like, I'm gonna have this going the whole year, kind of in the background, just being like, hey, by the way, this awesome Maru Kiru book is out, and it's now a definitive way to experience the complete first story arc, First Heresy. And you can get it now direct from the cartoonist for $30 US. And you can also buy a digital version for $10. So
I just love too, on some of the pages you can almost see like a glowing effect.
Yep.
Which is really cool. Like I noticed it on this page in particular, like the moon like radiant down.
Yeah.
And then like over here too. Dude,
I finally overcome my fear of the airbrush. Yeah. I shied away from using airbrush tools for a really long time because I never felt confident in my ability to use them, and it's just, I don't know, I'm there now. I can do it.
So I mean, that's the beauty of what like webcomics is, like seeing the artist's journey from start to finish. I mean, how was it revisiting the past Maru Kiru? I mean, I like you said, like, a lot of your designs, a lot of your work has grown, has matured. So I mean, how did it feel like revisiting your baby and dialing it up a little bit?
I mean, it was good. It was a good experience. And I think that having a rule like I'm not going to redo the line art was really important.
Yeah.
There are a couple of things that I changed composition on. You're actually looking at a page where I changed composition a little bit, because
I was going to say, I thought this was different because I remember the unfortunate part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I relettered it first of all, but I shrank it down and I moved everything over like an inch or an inch and a half to the left. Because in the print version, I mean, this was the page from when it was just a webcomic, and it was like, look at this big image. And Maru and Minotadis's heads were right in dead center of the frame.
Mhm.
And in the printing of it, that puts them directly on the fold.
Yeah.
Uh, so it was like you were losing his whole head into the fold of the book, and I was like, okay, we're gonna fix stuff like that. Um, so yeah, it's my whole deal with doing this was I really wanted to go and prove that like me, a one person team, can get out there and make a book that looks like it was done by a big publisher with serious resources. But it's just me. And I think I've finally done it. It's it feels like I've leveled up as like an indie comics dude, in what I'm able to do, all on my lonesome, in terms of writing and drawing and lettering and coloring and inking and publishing, and even now distributing, as well. So it's like I want to have that familiarity with every step. That way, when somebody comes calling for any particular job, I can say, "Oh yeah, I can do that." And it's like, yeah, I could do pretty much anything that anybody would want me to do now. I don't know what's left, honestly.
And that in itself is like what we strive for, what we work for. And I
Yeah.
think that's like what gives us the biggest sense of accomplishment when you finally, like, you don't have to tell people like, hey, check out this, the art's not nearly as good. Now you can tell like, hey, the art's awesome.
It's sick. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I have no reservations anymore. And it's a lot, the heart of it is still the same. The line art is still the same. And that's the thing that I was most impressed with, is it's like I really thought I was going to go back through it and I was still going to have that kind of reservation of being like, okay, it looks better, but it's not. But he's like, nah, actually, it's held up pretty damn
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And it really just needed me to go back with a more experienced eye and, to redo the tone and to redo the color. And it's like, yeah, this actually it's killer. It could have been this killer from the start if I had known what I was doing back then.
And I think it benefits, coming from a webcomic as well,
Mhm.
like, because your use of paneling, the use of the gutter, your
Mhm.
action to action transitions. I mean, it's awesome to kind of see just how much you've grown, and how your style has relatively stayed pretty similar. I mean, you've tightened up different aspects of it, but like your style has remained as true as possible to you as a creator.
Thank you.
And I think that was like one of the best parts of this.
Yeah, I don't want to lose any of the uniqueness of my voice, because it is what it is at this point. That seems kind of flippant, but I don't like to get bogged down too much when I talk about like my style. Um, Alejandro Bisetse said to me years and years ago, that style is not a thing, right? It's the act of solving the problems of art on the page is what your style is. And your unique approach to how you want to solve a problem on the page, that is what manifests as your style.
I love that.
And it's like foolish to go out and be like, I need to establish what my art style is. And it's like, nah, it's a waste of time. You're going to develop bad habits doing that.
Mhm.
It's going to come about naturally just from you figuring out how you want to present yourself on the page. You don't need to like try to set yourself apart. It's just going to happen on its own. So yeah, I feel like that's a way of thinking that has carried me through a lot of stuff, because it's at the end of the day, I'm not super worried about Maru on page 1 looking exactly like Maru on page 300. Because she doesn't. There's been design changes to the character that have happened naturally over time, and there was a big redesign in between story arcs.
It's just gone through a lot of shit, right? Like,
Gone through a lot of shit.
yeah, gone through a lot of shit.
It's gonna happen. And I've been working on the comic for 7 years now. But you can put them side by side, page 1 Maru and page 300 Maru, and you can tell it's the same character.
Yeah.
Because of the way she looks, the way she acts, the shit she does, the gigantic mane of purple hair. It's like all the pieces are still there, and they still go together, and you can still tell it was drawn by the same artist. So that all works for me. I'm all good with that, and I'm really happy now to be able to go to a con. I'm going to my first con in a week now. Dragon's Realm Comic-Con in Danbury, Connecticut. Come see me on March 21st and 22nd. I don't know my table number yet, but I'll be there.
Just look for the luscious purple hair.
That's right. Yeah, it's on my banner. But yeah, to be able to have now at the con and be like, to pitch the series to people and be like, start with the TPB, nice meaty volume, complete story arc on its own. And then
that name is badass too.
Yeah. It's nice to finally have something to call the first story arc. You know, I read Berserk over the course of working on the early comics. You know, I reading stuff all the time, but it's like I read through the bulk of Berserk, and I love the way that Berserk does its arcs. And just being like really upfront and being like, you are now in this arc. This is where we are, and this is the name of what's happening right now. And I'm like, ooh, I like that. I'm going to do that. And that's why when I started the Chosen Ones, that's why I said this is the new arc, and it's called this. But I had to go back and reverse engineer that for the first one. Yeah. So it took me a while to figure it out. But I said, no, that first Heresy is cool because we throw the word heresy around a lot. And I wanted to, you know, sense of beginnings or whatever. Oh, it's my romance dawn, you know, it's it's that kind of that convention. So yeah, I'm also very excited about the name.
So for everyone that is watching, there is a link to purchase this book.
Yes.
Be sure to go over there and purchase it. And if you're not able to, throw Brendan a couple bucks. I mean, coffee is a good site. You could throw him a couple bucks, buy him a coffee, help him, you know, rejuvenize for his day of arting. So
I really appreciate it. You know, and I would say that, you know, the right now the shipping costs are prohibitive for me to ship outside the US. Obviously I will do it if people are willing to pay for it, but I am also in the process of acquiring some international distribution options for Canada and for Australia and for Mexico and hopefully the UK as well. So you know, you if you're in one of those countries and you would like to wait until shipping is a little bit more affordable, but I understand that. But also buying the digital trade is a great option as well, because it's only $10.
And you can take that with you anywhere.
You go with you anywhere. That's right. Yeah. And it looks super. So
outside of Maru Kiru,
yes.
I mean, you are a busy individual. We have a new Kickstarter that will be dropping called The Royal.
Yeah.
And it looks badass. And I'm sure you're stoked because, you know, for fans of Conan, like, hell yeah, you know?
Yeah. No, this is the closest I've come to drawing Conan the Barbarian. And this is the
here, hold on one second. Let me give you a little bit of a spotlight there. We're gonna put you on the solo layout, so go ahead.
This is the 10-page preview that me and the writer John cooked up, and this is actually the C cover that you're looking at. So there's an A cover and a B cover as well that I also did. And you know, the interior is it's still kind of, you know, very much my style, but John is a super cool writer. He wrote a series called Road to Valhalla, which is about Vikings, and this is my favorite page. He's also
that's so cool.
John is also an experienced, so that has actually been something that's been super cool about like choreographing the fight scenes. Is he is a martial, I don't know what martial art he does, I'm sorry, but he is some kind of martial arts instructor, writing and fighting, as he is prone to say, but he has been super cool about like walking me through what he wants fight choreography to be. And
that's cool.
It's been an experience. So and even stuff that he has like described to me and I've tried to draw it and it's like it didn't quite work the way he wanted it to. He says, okay, that didn't come out the way I wanted it to. Let's try this instead. And it's been a very, very cool collaborative experience. You know, there's some really creative fight choreography stuff. But yeah, the Royal is about a group of 3 bandits who it's actually technically it's historical fiction. It takes place in France in 1309 AD, and you've got these 3 bandits that are on the run, and they end up in this small town in the south of France, and they pose as priests to hide out in this town, and then they discover that they are a little bit too good at pretending to be priests, and they raise the ire of the king and the Pope, and they kind of you know lead a mini rebellion of sorts, and end up with some very serious consequences for kind of their duplicity. So it's historical, but we're describing it as being dark fantasy as well, because there is kind of a magical element to it in certain cases, in one particular character. There's a heavy surrealism element to it. If you've ever seen the film The Devils, starring Oliver Reed, you'll understand where we're pulling a lot of our inspiration from for that. But it's really exciting. It is very much in the vein of like Savage Sword Conan, if you are into that kind of thing. The previews in black and white. The end result comic will be fully colored. But we have some really exciting stuff planned for it. And I think he's got 5 issues planned right now.
Okay.
So we're really hoping this first one does well, and got a lot of cool stuff to do with this series. So yeah, it's Conan-y. It's very heavily influenced by Savage Fantasy comics and pulp serials and that kind of thing. And there's a heavy dose of like 1970s cinematic sleaze to it that is kind of very different from, I think, the kind of stuff you see out there right now. I always feel like it's so bizarre that we're finding ourselves from a media standpoint in like another puritanical age. And so to have a comic like this that is not, we're telling, it's not an NSFW comic by any stretch. But like John and I have been saying, it's rated R, right?
Yeah.
So there's heavy violence, and there are suggestive themes, and it's for a mature audience, as opposed to some of my other stuff, which is like Maru Kiru is more of a YA book, or like Circuit Champ, which is actually Circuit Champ's for the children,
Circuit Champ's badass. I love Circuit Champ.
Look, don't get me wrong, Circuit Champ is goes hard AF, but it's definitely like that's for there could be a Saturday morning cartoon of Circuit Champ, and you would have no problem bringing your kids to that.
Yeah, this one sounds like maybe a late night show.
This is a late night show. Yeah, and Maru Kiru is running in prime time, so it's like that's kind of your division.
Yeah, I like that lineup. Yeah. So we got the Kickstarter link in chat. When are you guys looking to go live with this?
That is going live on this Saturday, March 14th, 2026 at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. There is going to be a launch party stream for that the publisher GWP is having. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to make it, unfortunately, because I have a familial engagement. But John will be there, and the other guys from GWP will be there, and they're going to have a really good time. I think there's going to be some giveaways. I think there's going to be some fun other stuff that they're going to be doing for that. So, looking forward to that. And then I will be at the Battle Standard, where I'm the house artist, Battle Standard in East Windsor, Connecticut, on Sunday afternoon. And John should be visiting me there as well. And we will have
that's cool.
More information about the book. And
are you guys like from the same state?
We are, yeah. We're both
so
Connecticut
cool.
guys. Yeah, he lives about an hour away from me, so it's nice to be able to actually link up with somebody in person. Yeah. And we're going to be together at Dragon's Realm as well. He's going to be tabling right next to me. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, and we're way off in the future now, but we'll be together at Terrificon as well. So yeah, it's this is another one where it's like we want to smash this campaign out of the park to get this book going. And then be off to the races with it. There's a lot to this story, and it's a lot of fun in quotes. Fun for people who love misery. But it's going to be really cool, and I think that people are really going to jive with it. So yeah, definitely check out the campaign, check out the pre-launch. And we've got a lot of cool rewards and stuff that go along with that. Like I said, 3 different variant covers that I did, and then we got posters and stuff too. So, and there's an extended library tier where you can even get a copy of Maru Kiru, Destroy the Moon, First Heresy, in conjunction with the rest of the comics, and also 3 issues of Road to Valhalla.
That's cool.
There's GWP's got a lot of cool books. I've been thinking about adding some others to the extended library as well. But there's going to be a lot of really cool indie comic stuff that you could pick up from this campaign. So. I'm doing commissions as well for this, because I don't do commissions for all of my Kickstarter campaigns that I'm artist on, just because of the nature of how Kickstarter works sometimes. But this one I am going to be doing commissions on. So there are commission slots available for lower than you can usually get them.
And look up Brendan Albetski on Instagram and Blue Sky, because you can see some of his commission works and they are phenomenal. I love seeing the different things people have you knock out. You just had one from Coffee that was successfully funded too, that I thought was really cool.
The Krull one?
Yeah.
That was badass. I've been looking to do that one for a long time, actually.
It was just like, you know what, we're not gonna let the audience pick this one. We're just gonna do it finally.
No, they did. They did.
Oh, they did. Oh,
yeah. That's what made it so special. Is it finally won the vote?
Because I remember that thing. You've been trying to get that thing off the ground for quite some. Yeah.
Every poll, and it always lost. And I was like, no, it's going back in. It's going back in until it wins. And it finally won. Yeah, we raised $500 to get that made, and really 19 people contributed to that. And when I do the community projects on my Coffee page, it's like anything that you put in the bucket goes towards funding the community goals. So if you're getting a personal commission, that goes in the bucket. If you buy something from the shop, that goes in the bucket. If you're a member, I love it when people sign up for the monthly membership, because you get to read the Maru Kiru comics early. There's like 20 pages right now that are not going to be published for like several months that you can read right now. Behind the scenes stuff. And I have a flat reward structure because I think that, times is tough. And so, you can get in for $1 or you can get in for $10 a month. And you get the same rewards regardless. It's what you can afford. It's what you want to be able to give to support. I don't want to keep people out because they can't afford, $5 or $10 a month. And I know people can't. It sucks. So it's like I wanted to have the option available to, either to one-time contribute and still get a copy of like whatever commission you contributed towards, or like now we're funding the Ponscom comic. So there's actually going to be, usually what we've done in the past is that whoever the top contributor is during the funding period of the illustration will get a free sketch commission. I'm actually changing that for the Ponscom funding is we're going to do a drawing and somebody's going to win $120 commission.
That's so cool.
For free, because to show the appreciation and to really show to like flatten out and let people know it's like, every dollar is meaningful to these projects. And anybody could win no matter what they contribute. So it's really just want to get as many people involved as we can, and support that independent art. That's in a world where we're down to like 3 media companies. Let's start putting our money into the independent stuff. It's time to cancel Netflix and support some indie artists. Don't need to be
absolutely,
but
but make sure it is Brendan, because his work is all So speaking of Ponscom, I've always been a big fan of your designs, your character designs, and your animal designs are equally as badass. Here, let me go ahead and we'll put you on that solo screen once again so we can get close up of that. It is badass. Ponscom is badass. I had the chance to read this. It's a 8-page ashcan.
Yep.
So right there is a link to check it out, guys. And it's worth the checkout. This thing is badass. I just love how insane and off the wall it is.
Yeah.
Without spoiling too much, like you really dive into some of the like more cheesier aspects of comics, and it was just like chef kiss.
Yeah. No, it's there's. This is heavily inspired by TMNT, obviously. And I love the old Eastman Laird TMNT comics so much. And I wanted to essentially do something like that. So, I'm printing the zines out of my own home printer and stapling them myself. And I actually did this 8-page zine in 3 days, all told. I was doing an community event in the Zomic Book Discord that I've been a member of since HeroesCon last year. And they were doing this like bugs and frogs pick a side kind of a thing. And so I developed this frog character who turned into Buffo Americanus. And people really liked the design, and I did too. And it was like, okay, well, what if you had a friend? And so I made the Luna Moth character, Luna Actian, which is play on Luna Actius, like the Latin names of the characters. So yeah, and I put them together, and it's like, and I put this in the Comic Yeti Discord too, which I think probably the first place you saw it. And I was just like, yeah, I made this thing. Would you, if I made a comic about this, would you guys read it? And everybody was like, yeah, make it. So I put that in a few places and I got similar reactions. So I'm like, all right, let's do this. And I made a little challenge for myself. It's like, I want to see how fast I can go from concept to print. So yeah, I had the character designs, and I bounced some questions off a couple of people, and we kind of figured out what the character dynamic between the two of them is, and we settled on like reluctant allies. And I put him in a situation, and I ripped off Streets of Rage pretty hard for kind of like the opening crawl of what's going on in the comic. And they are dropped into this city called Bogtown. The first issue is called Hell Comes to Bogtown, which is there's a lot of jokes there. I'll leave you to Google.
God, it's good too. It is so good.
But the idea, it just came together really fast, and it's like I'm gonna lean on the tropes. I'm gonna lean on all of these fun things that you would expect to see out of a comic like this. And we're just gonna see how fast I can get it to actually printing. And 3 days later, I was running it off my printer, and I stapled it, and I said, I did it. There it is, and you can buy it now. And we kind of put it up as a teaser. And now it's like, I'm going to fund each chapter individually. I'm going to try to raise $500 to do each 8-page chapter. Mm-hmm. There's 80 pages in total that I've got planned out to do, an OGN. It's going to be in black and white for now. And then I'll probably do funding for it later to do like a full perfect bound print run, and do color. But yeah, I wanted to do it like Eastman and Laird were doing, with the same spirit that they were approaching TMNT. And the thing that I was thinking a lot, you talk about stuff being cheesy. I was reading the perfect editions of the old TMNT comics, and they're annotated with notes from Eastman and Laird, from other people from the team, from when those books were first being published. And there's this whole section about the Fugitoid. He's a fugitive android, if you're not familiar with the character. And I'm reading this, and it's just like, God, they are so, even as you're reading the comic and you don't have the annotations, you're like, they are so obsessed with the Fugitoid. They are so proud of themselves for coming up with the Fugitoid. They love the Fugitoid. And you read the annotations, and it's like, Eastman's like, I love the Fugitoid. He's great. He's a fugitive android, the Fugitoid. And then you see the Peter Laird note, it's just like, Fugitoid is like the best idea we ever had. He's a fugitive android. He's a Fugitoid. Do you get it? And I was like, that is like the level of cornball that I need to bring to this comic. Because it's like, they're so earnest in their love for this silly character. And that's something that I think has always made TMNT really great, is that, radical man, Michelangelo, a party dude, pizza, and it's like also murder though. Like there's some
murder, dude. And when it evolves to like the Last Ronin, and then it's like that same character, extra murder. It's like, damn, that got dark fast.
These characters, they're just serious as the grave, and they're turtles. And it's like, there's that's something I really think is cool. And it's like, it's, I think when you have silly characters, to have them take themselves and each other extremely seriously, it makes it so that you can tell a serious story, but also if comedy happens, they don't need to be in on the joke in order for the reader to get comedy out of it. It's probably better that they're not in on the joke. For reader to get comedy out of it, because there's a line where there's a line in the middle of this where there's an information broker who's a chameleon, and his name is Cross Eyes, and to spoil the teaser for you, I mean, the teaser is free on my Coffee page. You can download it for free. Obviously tips are appreciated. They go towards funding the book. They'll get you entered to win the commission. But there's this information broker named Cross Eyes who sets Buffo and Luna up to try to kill each other, essentially, and they figure it out. And Buffo just calls him a googly-eyed son of a bug, and it's like, that's delivered with dead seriousness. There's no winking at all. Like he really, that's like a serious insult in this world.
And I love
it's
to
funny. Like it's funny, it's stupid.
Yeah.
I think I personally think it's silly and great, but it's like, no, that character is like he's really pissed off, and this is a nasty thing that he's saying about this guy.
And it's so silly, but the design of that page is so cool. Out of all the pages of that Ashcan, that was one of my favorite because like he's puppeting him, and it was so awesome the way like the layout of the page was. And that's kind of what I mean, like with your paneling and your page designs, they're just so intricate. Even when at like face value, you might not think it's like a super integrated, like detailed comic. It really is.
Yeah, you have to. I think about the manga grind and the way that like a mangaka on a weekly schedule has to put out 16 pages in a week.
Oh my god!
They have a team of assistants or whatever to do backgrounds and stuff, but it's like they have to put out 16 pages in a week. How the hell do you do that? And it's like you want to know why certain manga are paced the way they are. Manga where the mangaka is comfortable that they're not going to get canceled, which is another issue entirely. But it's like if you have like story beats and you're almost it almost benefits you to be like, all right, exactly how far can I stretch these beats out without tearing?
Yeah.
And how many pages can I get out of each story beat, and how many, like, to very carefully calculate like the way you want a shot, reverse shot on characters, the way you want a panel, like a character reveal or something, to take a whole splash page to do like a character reveal, or even like this one where it's like there's not really, we talk about the page we're talking about, there's not really a panel on this page. There's an optical flow from top to bottom and left to right, but this is just really just a splash page. And to be able to do stuff like that comes together much faster than being like, okay, now we're going to have, this is something that you see in American comics all the time, and working on Inheritance, like I have been with Doug Wood and Travis James, which that campaign just got funded. Woo!
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. It happened this morning. That was a bit of a nail biter there, but we did it. But that is like a very much like an American superhero comic, right?
Yeah.
And so you have situations where it's like, all right, here we go, page 6, panel 8, like, oh boy, you know, that's a different challenge, right? Because now it's like you're fitting as much story as possible.
All these damn rectangles
you can, as opposed to something where and you know, I want Ponscum to feel very like open and arcadey and flowy, and almost like you are playing through a Streets of Rage level in the way you kind of move through the comic. And that is very fast for me to do. So for me, it's always kind of finding the middle space, especially on my solo projects, the middle space between, you know, extending the beats out as much as I can to get the page count, but to also make sure that I'm not like dragging ass and still have like every page still has to have like something creative to do and something new to say. And so you can take, you know, like in the issue of this, it's like the characters have to meet, they have to kind of figure out what's going on, and then some twist has to happen to them where they are now, you know, given impetus to do something in the next issue. So you know, that's kind of what happens in those 8 pages. And it's like, how can we do that the best way in 8 pages? How can we do that? Because I this was originally, I love 2-page spreads, as you may know, if you've read Maru Kiru. There are, the introduction of Buffo and Luna was originally a 2-page spread that I condensed down to 1. That it's like, nah, I cannot be that indulgent when I only have 8 pages to work with. I have to compress a little bit so we can get more of the good stuff in the comic. But yeah, finding a balance between working yourself to death and making sure that you have an interesting comic. That's indie life, you know.
You know, I think right there is a perfect segue for us. You've been on the show, you know the drill. We always love asking for some advice.
Yes.
And what you're up to outside of creating. And you know, I was going to ask you about if someone was looking to revise, you know, some of their earlier work, what would be the best way to go about it? But I think what you were just talking about would be even better suited, finding that balance. So for the creator out there looking to find, you know, that balance with their work, with their comic, and then also to enjoy comics, like how would they go about achieving that?
The thing that I've always said is if you're not enjoying working on the page, then people are not going to enjoy reading the page. There are definitely attitudes that I have encountered in indie where there are people who are doing things because they feel like they have to, like it's expected of them. This is what must go in a comic book. I must do this. This is what must go in a story. I have to do this. I have to do this. And then I have to do that. I hate doing this part. I'm not looking forward to doing that. I don't want to, but I have to because that needs to be in a comic book. You know, if that's how you feel about it, like take a step back and be like, maybe your comic book doesn't need to have that.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you can skip that and you can do something cool and creative instead and change it into something that you love. So yeah, I would say that anytime you have something that you're not looking forward to doing, you know, find a way to make it interesting to yourself and to make it something that you love. That was something that was difficult for me to do with lettering. I was not, we talked about this earlier. It's like I was avoiding learning how to be a good letterer for a long time. Now I'm not really sure why, because it did get to a point where it's like I went and I read a lot of Nate Pico's pointers because Nate Pico's is God.
Phenomenal, yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, you know, the rules were pretty simple. And doing the Maru Kiru stuff was a great way to do it because it's like I can see my bad habits of the past and I can fix them in real time and I can learn about how to do it as I'm going without having to like write new stuff. So it's like, yeah, you gotta gamify it almost. Yeah, it's taking stuff that if you don't want to do something first, you know, envision what would happen if you just didn't. And if you just skipped it and did something else. And if you really can't skip it, but something like lettering where it's like, yeah, you know, you need to, I guess your comic should probably have words, even though that's not a strict requirement.
Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah,
comics out there. But like, yeah, something that's like you have to do it, but you're not really super good at it, and you're not looking forward to learning it. It's like you gotta find the joy in learning it, and find a way to make yourself enjoy it, and that's how you're going to carry yourself through the day, and that's how you're going to make something that other people are excited to like embrace and enjoy. Something that I think is really cool. I just started getting this compliment recently. Heroes Con last year was the first time I've heard it. I've actually had people tell me like 4 times since then. But I have people come to me and they tell me that they want to eat my book, like from a complimentary standpoint.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is cool. I like that demonstrates a level of enthusiasm that I appreciate.
Yeah.
You know, I think that is fantastic. And the first person who said was like, I don't want you to take offense to this, but I really like to eat your book. And I said, I don't know why you would think I would take offense to that. That sounds absolutely like the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me.
Yeah.
And if you can get to a point where you are eliciting that reaction from people, you will know that you are doing your job of joyfully producing your material.
That is awesome. So Brendan, outside of creating, what have you been up to? I know you said you were pulling some insane long hours with the revision. But you know, if you had time to watch a show or read a book or, you know, play a video game, you know, what were you up to?
What have I been doing? You know, it's funny.
It's like free time. What does this mean?
What is that? Yeah, God. So I watch a lot of K-dramas now. With my partner, we're super into that, and that was the kind of thing that was like it kind of. I'm not really entirely sure when that became like a thing that we do, but it's like we watch a lot of K-dramas now, and I really enjoy that. And it's like a super good unwind for the end of the day, and it's like it's half the time, like 90% of them, the story is exactly the same as the one you just watched, but it's like who cares, you know? It's soap opera stuff, and it's a lot of fun. And you know, there's subtitles, so you're reading. You know, you're exposing yourself to like what is the most popular cultural movement in the world today. Keeping cool with the kids. When I went to Christmas this year and I talked to my nieces and nephews who are all like 13, 14 now, they were all really impressed that I like knew things about K-pop and K-culture.
The cool uncle.
Yeah, check me out. I know what a BTS is. Like, you know, and like that's
K-pop
like
Demon Hunter? Like, don't mind if I do.
Yeah, I'll take a few of those. Yeah. And and you know, I went to Korea last 2 years ago, 2024, because you know, we had a chance to go there, and it was like, yeah, we have a family that's staying there right now for their English teachers, so they're staying for you know, a couple of years. Or rather, they're math teachers who work in an English language school in South Korea. If in case they're watching, I know what your job is. But they live near Seoul, and so we got the chance to go over there and stay with them and you know, experience the country. So I got to go to the Gangcham Culture Village and take a picture of myself in front of the giant BTS mural.
Oh, that's so cool.
And so I was able to whip that photo out at Christmas and be like, yeah, see, you know, I've got K-pop street cred.
See, I know.
Yeah, I know what it is. Yeah. So yeah, I that is definitely something that has been part of my life pretty frequently when I'm not working. And it was, you know, there have been definitely a lot of days where it's like work 12 hours and now, okay, we're gonna watch Business Proposal.
And isn't it crazy too? Because it's like what gets you through the 12 hours. You like look forward to it. You're like, you know, if I just grind this out, you know, I get to enjoy this.
You know, I'm a goddamn maniac about comics anyways. I'll go to bed at night and be like, can't wait to get up at 6 a.m. and start drawing again. You know, I had some small issues over the last year with elbow and hand injury that made it inadvisable for me to draw, and that was difficult for me to get through because I was climbing the walls. I was not happy, and I was always trying to push it too. Because I was like, oh, maybe I can draw for a little bit today.
Maybe I should do this left-handed. See if that works.
I did that. I tried that. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Because you know, Yuko Oza did that. The artist who draws Johnny Wander and Barbarous and half a dozen other things. Had a really, really serious arm injury. You know, I don't know. God, this was Brendan reading webcomics regularly days several years ago, but had a really serious arm injury and couldn't draw anymore, and actually taught herself to draw with her left hand. And I was like, well, you know, stupid arrogant me is always like,
easy.
Yeah, no sweat. No, I gave up on that. But yeah, it was. I'm an absolute maniac when it comes to drawing. I can't not do it.
See, it's so funny you say that too, because I read this thing like you should try things with your non-dominant hand because it like rewires your brain or something like that. So I try to brush my teeth sometimes with my left hand. I can't even imagine trying to draw like with left-handed.
I mean, I can do it, but it sucks. Like, you know, this is my left hand. You know, it's like yeah, oh boy, this is a rough one. This is one for the books, Cody. Yeah, like oh dear. There we go. There's left-handed.
Hey, I mean, dude, that's better than I can even do right-handed.
You know, so it's like it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, I can make shapes with my left hand, but God, it would take so long to actually draw anything that I could do anything with that. Yeah, I'm impatient, so it was driving me crazy. So,
and guys, you can help Brendan stay sane by buying this trade paperback book.
Yes.
By checking out Royal and checking out Pond Scum as well. All of those respective links will be in the description of this video by the time we end.
And you know what? I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just want to go over this one more time. If you buy this from my coffee page or the digital trade version, you go towards funding the next chapter of this, and you get yourself entered to win the free commission. So, you know, like I said, that's the great thing about my coffee page is like everything that you do on that page goes towards supporting something else that I'm doing, and it gets you entered to win stuff. So keep that in mind.
And Brendan is a phenomenal artist, so get in on that chance to win a commission. You have nothing to lose. Phenomenal work. I love both series. Pond Scum is badass. You guys can look forward to a written interview where we dive deeper into that series at some point this week. With that being said, it is time for us to wrap up. I hope you all have a lovely Thursday, but most importantly, keep it geekly.